It is the 4th of March, Friday. Welcome to the studentloanjustice.org live stream. If you're new to the group, welcome. What took you so long? We are the oldest, largest, and in many ways only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. So I'm going to just dive right into it. I've got a comment and a question for you tonight. My comment is very simple. When nearly 2/3 of all federal student loan borrowers were not paying before the pandemic, that is a failed lending system. And it's true. Before the pandemic, 64.3% of all federal student loan borrowers were not paying on their loans before the pandemic. Now, that includes 8 million people who are in school. If you factor them out, we're still left with 57% of all federal student loan borrowers not paying. A few were in repayment, technically, but they were making $0 payments. So, guys, it's a failed lending system. But more importantly, I have a question for you all. My question is this. So 64.3%, nearly 2/3 of all borrowers were not paying before the pandemic. If and when Biden turns this lending scam, and it is a scam, back on May 1st, my best guess is that around 80%, maybe more, of everyone will not resume paying their loans. That's probably you if you're watching this. I don't know. Maybe not. But so my question to you is this. Do you want to face May 1st naked and afraid and vulnerable to the collection companies who are drooling at the prospect of a mass default? And a mass default is going to happen. It just is. Do you want to face May 1st without the threat of bankruptcy on your side like it is today, so they can just come and do whatever they want with you? Do you want that? Or would you rather face May 1st with at least a toothpick of power on your side? The toothpick that is the threat of bankruptcy. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But if you were screwed before the pandemic, you're going to be screwed when they start demanding payments. In the whatever Joe Biden may do regarding loan cancellation down the road, we don't know. He may do nothing. Wouldn't it make sense that you should have at least the same bankruptcy protections on your side that every other borrower for every other type of loan has? Think about that. But there's a much larger point to be made here. In fact, the most important point that I'm going to say tonight. Whether you like bankruptcy, whether you hate bankruptcy. Everybody hates bankruptcy, by the way. Unless you're like the Sackler family or like, I don't know, Donald Trump or something. Whatever your feelings about your own personal situation and bankruptcy are, we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy returned to us. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been doing this for 17 long years now, and we have seen any number of loan cancellation gimmicks foisted on us. Income contingent repayment back in the 90s, income-based repayment, public service loan forgiveness in the 2007 or so, pay as you earn, revised pay as you earn. We've seen all manner of loan cancellation gimmicks come out. And the one thing that they all have in common is that 99-point-something% of everyone, maybe slightly lower for public service at this point, but overall 99 probably 0.9% of everyone trying for all those various loan cancellation programs were disqualified out of the program. They didn't get not only did they not get the loan cancellation, they got disqualified and kicked to the curb, owing far, far more than had they never tried in the first place. Now, with the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, very few people should have to file, maybe nobody. With the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, the whole entire game changes. with the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, there are 40 million borrowers in the country who were underwater, nearly 40 million who were underwater before the pandemic. Now, in a typical year, fewer than 1 million people file for bankruptcy for any reason. Now, Joe Biden, love him or hate him, he is a politician. And Joe Biden will not be the president to preside over a wave of bankruptcy filings far larger than anything we've ever seen before in our nation's history, going back to and before the Great Depression, right? 1 million people file, not even quite that every year. What would happen if 6, 7, 8 million people all of a sudden started filing every year because of their student loans? No, it would overwhelm the bankruptcy courts to the point of seizure. Ain't going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, whatever you think about bankruptcy, we must get our constitutional bankruptcy rights back if we are going to see meaningful, actual student loan cancellation. This up to $50,000 that we see Elizabeth Warren having run up the flagpole, this $10,000 across the board gimmick that we hear from Biden, it's all bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. Pardon my French, but it is. It's nonsense. It's BS. Put your boots on. That $50,000, that up to $50,000, you're not getting $50,000 after means testing, after the application process, after this string and that string. Yeah, you get 13 grand, you get 8 grand, you get nothing because you're in default, you get nothing because some other stupid reason. It will come to mean almost nothing for almost everyone. This is how the Department of Education rolls. This is how they have always rolled. Don't buy into it, ladies and gentlemen. There's a very good reason that Elizabeth Warren put up to into her proposal. That is, and we're thrilled that Elizabeth Warren has in the past championed bankruptcy for student loans. We're thrilled that she put the concept of canceling federal student loans on the table by executive order. The president can cancel loans by executive order without needing a dime from the Treasury, without needing a penny to the debt. And our group right here, started the petition before anybody almost was talking about student loan cancellation by executive order. And believe me, we are 100% in favor of that concept. It's the most beautiful, most elegant, cheapest, quickest, easiest way to get rid of this failed lending program. But I'm sorry, Elizabeth Warren, up to $50,000 is salesman's talk. It is slick wording. It is weasel wording. And quite frankly, I think it's rather shameful that she put that in there. It's an arbitrary cap. By the way, the people who are hurt worst by these loans, they owe way more than $50,000. I'm thinking of people like Vanjie. Vanjie borrowed $26,000. She has repaid $93,000. She now owes $132,000. I'm thinking of people like Chris in Wisconsin. Chris borrowed $80,000. He has paid back over $200,000 at this point. He still owes around $230,000. Up to $50,000. Not going to do anything for Chris. Not going to do anything for Vanjie. These are the people who are being hurt worst. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope the conclusion is clear to you. Whether you would ever or never file for bankruptcy is not important. We must get the threat of bankruptcy returned to us if we are wanting to see any kind of meaningful, deep, wide, broad, perhaps even total student loan cancellation. None of that is going to happen unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. If you can't tell, I've said that a few times, and I'm getting a little tired of repeating myself. Hey, by the way, if you have any questions or comments, if I can see them on Twitter or if I can see them on Facebook, I will happily respond to them. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we've been in this fight for a long time. When we first started, we were fighting very moderately just for the return of bankruptcy protections. This lending system now catastrophically failed. It's just beyond the pale. It's not worth saving. It should not be saved. It's time to put this lending system onto the scrap heap of failed U.S. policy experiments in U.S. history. And call it stimulus, call it whatever you want. I don't care. But this lending system is toast. It's done. It's finished. It's a dead man walking. And the worst thing that Joe Biden can do on every level, politically, as a practical matter, and just as a normal human thinking, feeling, soul-having person, the worst thing that Joe Biden can do is to continue to pretend that this lending system is legitimate. It is not legitimate. As I said at the top, when 2/3 of everyone aren't paying, Houston, we have more than a problem. So I hope you guys are pleased with what's going on. We have a great bill in the Senate right now, S-2598. The most important action item I have for you right now tonight is to tell you these are your loans and this is your problem. We are not the hugest group in the world, if you can't tell. We have a lot of people, though. We have over 1 million people on our petition. We have probably 200,000 people across our other platforms. What we do have is people power. What we have is you and me and other blades of grass in this grassroots movement. And what will solve this problem is when everybody out there, me, you, and everyone, own this problem, realize that nothing's going to happen unless we make it happen, and start doing the putting forth the effort that needs to be put forth in order for us to solve this problem. So if you go to our website, studentloanjustice.org, where is it? Somewhere in there. Go to our daily actions and do like a month or maybe 2 months worth of our daily actions. They're super quick. You need a Twitter account. Like 80% of the stuff is Twitter. So you definitely need that. But given that you have a Twitter account, and Twitter, I hate Twitter. Most people hate Twitter. Twitter is pretty handy, though, I have to admit. So if you have a Twitter account, you can probably do like a month and a half or 2 months worth of our daily actions in like, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. It's not hard. It's like retweet this, tweet that, Very simple. That will help. As I said, we have an army behind us. If only all the soldiers step up and embrace this battle. This is your battle. These are your loans. You have no idea how important you are. If you sit back and wait and watch and worry and eat popcorn and you expect the talking heads, including myself, but I'm not one, but if you assume that the people in Washington, D.C. are going to solve this problem for us, you are wrong. Wrong. Wrong as wrong gets. Not going to happen. It's never worked that way in the 17-year history of our organization. The only thing that has ever made change in our group, probably for most political movements, is normal people putting forth the effort to solve this problem. I know a lot of people are embarrassed and ashamed and guilty, and they don't want to even think about their student loans, much less fight for student loan justice. I get that. Doesn't matter. You need to turn over a new leaf because your livelihood is on the hook here. And the sausage is being made right now, guys. We've got this great bill, S-2598. It's in the Senate right now. It's got all the votes, at least on paper, it needs to pass. It's a very short, the bill is perfectly positioned, and I've never been able to say that before. The sponsor is Chairman Dick Durbin, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's got 2 Republican co-sponsors, which is a very important thing that we haven't seen before, certainly not in the Senate. So we are on the cusp, ladies and gentlemen, of finally, after 40 years of them, 40 more years, 43 years of them being gone, we are finally on the cusp of getting these constitutional bankruptcy rights returned to us. It's got to happen. A lot of things could kill it. We have an opposition. We have many opponents. We have well-resourced, smart, ambitious, intelligent, driven, did I say well-resourced people opposing us. And they will do everything they can in Washington, D.C., with the media, etc., to try and kill our push. We can overwhelm them very easily. Like there's 40 plus million people on our side, whether they know it or not. 45 million, even 60 million if you count private student loan borrowers and cosigners. But even in a very real sense, we have over 1 million people who at least if they looked would see that they've already signed our petition they should be engaged in this battle, and that includes you. So spread the word about this group, please. We can overwhelm and flood the switchboard of every office in Washington, D.C. We can bury the Twitter accounts of every person in our opposition very easily, but only when more people, including you, help us on a daily basis. Those daily actions are very important, ladies and gentlemen. And they're not just like random shit, pardon my French. We put a little thought into these actions, and they are very tuned to the times. And this is the most efficient, most effective way that you can spend your time if you actually want to get the student loan problem solved, right? We don't do stupid deals. We're not like, oh yeah, cancel up to $50,000. And then Joe Biden goes, okay, I'm going to cancel up to $50,000. And then we go, yay, see, we're making a difference. Now give us money or something. No, we're not playing that shit. We're trying to get this problem solved. We're not trying to pimp this problem like other groups out there are. $50,000 is not a win. $50,000 is another loss for us. We're not buying that nonsense. These loans need to be gone. I want these loans gone. It's time to put this failed lending experiment on the scrap heap of history, move on with our lives. So we know the path, guys, and this up to $50,000 nonsense is nonsense. We've got to get the threat of bankruptcy return, and then, only then, are we going to see anything real from Washington, D.C. So May 1st is coming, guys. It's basically around the corner. We're on, March 4th now, so we've got 7 weeks or something like that. Whether or not they extend it, our marching orders remains precisely the same. So please help, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to look for your comments. I'm going to keep it short tonight. It's Friday, darn it. And it's been a great week for us. We were featured in Newsweek earlier in the week. Joe Biden said absolutely zero zip nada about student loans at the State of Union address, which we kind of expected, but we got a nice quote in Newsweek for that, so that was good. Hey, Leslie Fishman says insanity. Yes, well, it's not us that's crazy, guys. It's not your fault that this lending system has failed. It's not your fault. This is not a bad borrower problem. It is a bad lending system. Lending systems fail from time to time. They just do. Look at the subprime home mortgage crisis. By the way, by comparison with subprime, the default rate for subprime home mortgages was about 20%. Well, we now know that the class of 2004 for student loans is 40%, double that. But the class of 2004, they were only borrowing a third of what is being borrowed today. So if the subprime home mortgage thing was a failed lending system, federal student loans is way more failed. Look at the S&L crisis of the mid 80s. Look at pretty much every financial system in Europe after World War II and probably World War I as well. So this stuff happens, guys. It seems big. It's not that big. Don't trip on it. It's not our fault. It's a bad lending system. And this is what happens, by the way, when you take bankruptcy, constitutionally enshrined bankruptcy protections away from a lending instrument. I would like to say I told you so, but that does no one any good, and it gives me no pleasure. So, hey, we have another comment here. Hey, from Vanji. I was actually talking about you earlier, Vanji. What do you think of the comments of senior advisor today, multiple new articles? Yeah, Ron Klain, he floated the possibility / probability that they're going to extend the repayment pause yet another, who knows, probably past the November elections would be my guess. They're going to do what they're going to do. Vanji, honestly, nobody in Washington, D.C. knows what to do. Nobody at Forbes magazine has a fucking clue, by the way. Don't read Forbes, in my opinion. The crap that they put out is the most slanted, biased nonsense you'll ever hope to see. And that's true for most of the mainstream media, but particularly true with Forbes. They might extend it. I don't know. I give it about a 50-50. I gave it a 50-50 last time. I know that Joe Biden is under a tremendous amount of pressure from his old buddies from way back in the day who run the servicers and the guarantors and the lending companies like Navient and Sallie Mae and others. They really want to turn this lending program back on because they would love to get that money rolling back in the door. But if and when they finally have the gall, the chutzpah to turn this lending program back on, almost nobody's going to pay. That's the reality. And the longer they wait, the more rigor mortis sets in to this dying dead / zombie vampire lending scam. The longer they wait, the worse it is for them. It's kind of like, I don't know what it's kind of like. We are in uncharted territory. They're petrified. If they turn the lending system back on politically, the Democrats are just going to be absolutely annihilated. If they don't turn the lending system back on, then the problem only gets harder. It gets harder for them, not easier. And this is a very interesting thing because in years and decades past, the government was in the very great position of where the more they did nothing, the more money they would make, right? Like they could do nothing and just sit and do nothing. They could sit there, say nothing, do nothing, be very unhelpful to the borrowers, and the money would just roll in because that's the way they had architected it. Now we are in new uncharted territory where the lending system is now paused, and government inertia is not good for them anymore where it was before. They can do nothing. Maybe they will do nothing. In other words, maybe they will extend the repayment pause. But whatever the case may be, guys, we've got to fight. We've got to fight. This could have a good ending. This could have a very bad ending. The good ending is a nice, clean, quick death to this, I would say already dead, but certainly illegitimate and dying in its death throes lending scam. So yeah, a good, quick, clean, fiscally, economically stimulative death. Joe Biden, in a perfect world, Joe Biden would cancel all federally owned student loans tomorrow, and they would return bankruptcy protections to all the loans that can't be canceled, probably in the reverse order, but whatever, doesn't matter. That would be the good, clean, quick death where everybody comes out happy. The taxpayer is fine, by the way. The taxpayers made a king's ransom off of this lending scam for many years. That would be the clean, quick death. There is also a slow, muddled, painful, probably civilly unrestful demise to this lending system where, yeah, they try and turn the lending system back on. The collection companies start going to war with us. People probably die. People probably go postal or something. Who knows? It's a very ugly, ugly dystopian outcome. We don't want that second thing. We want the first thing. And if you want that first thing, then you need to be fighting with us as hard as you possibly can so that we can get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side, so that we can finally tip that domino that forces the federal government to acknowledge this failed lending scam for what it is and capitulate. That's what we need. Nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do. I'm the first guy to tell you that. And I feel it stronger than anybody. It's a very difficult thing to fight for as well, let me say. Nobody wants to stand up and go, hey, I want the right to file for bankruptcy. Nobody wants to do that. I get that. But it is so important. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army and print money in the Constitution. That's how important the founding fathers felt that having uniform bankruptcy laws was for a free, thriving nation. So, and make no mistake, guys, it's not just us that we're fighting for. It's obviously 45 million other people in the country, but it's tens or hundreds of millions of people who are going to follow in our footsteps. But even more than that, ladies and gentlemen, if they can do to other loans what they did to student loans, that is rip bankruptcy protections away, we could see this happen to other debts. We could see it happen to medical debt. We could see it happen to credit cards. There's no limit to what they can remove bankruptcy from. This is exactly against the first principles, the wishes, the good faith language of the founders. But hey, guys, I'm telling you, this is the camel's nose under the tent. If they can do to others what they've done to us, they will do that. These people are sociopaths. They're psychopaths. Our opposition is psychopathic. They're sociopathic. I said they were smart, well-resourced, and all that. I didn't say they were good people. They're not. They would very happily conquer and enslave this country in debt. And we cannot let that happen on our watch. You know, previous generations, they've had their own wars to fight, actual wars. This is also a war. It's a modern day war. You call it what you want, but this is your struggle. This is your fight. Hey, we have another comment here from Leslie. She says, this is so out of control. It's horrific, the amount of college costs to get a degree for potential employment. So many people I know have loans, but it's such a taboo topic. And I don't think people really comprehend the loan stipulation because it's so convoluted. Yeah. Student loans are like no other, federal student loans certainly, and even private loans. They're like no other lending instrument in this nation's history. No other lending instrument in our nation's history has been uniquely stripped of bankruptcy protections, of statutes of limitations, truth in lending laws, federal loans. Fair debt collection practices are restricted for federal loans. Even state usury laws don't apply to federal student loans. These are weaponized lending tools of indenture or something. I'm at a loss for words. But it is absolutely out of control. And, you know, the pandemic was horrible, but at least the pandemic laid bare this failed lending system for what it is. But guys, this is a fight. This is your fight. Our opposition, like the people at Forbes magazine, the student loan lawyers and the student loan debt coaches, the people who would be out of a job if these loans are canceled at Forbes, they would love you doing nothing. They want you sitting there worrying, waiting, watching, reading their stuff where they tell you what they want to happen. They have no clue. The people at Forbes are a bunch of jokes. They're a bunch of yahoos. They're a bunch of swamp creatures. Our opposition would love you to do nothing. That benefits them. They love that. They want you scared and confused and vulnerable and naive and just rolling with their punches. That's what they want. Don't give them the pleasure. So I'm going to leave it there at that. I know I said that about 8 minutes ago. I mean it now. I'm going to take off, but I hope that what I've said has sunk in with you guys tonight. We have it in our power. The battle is raging right now. We need you. You can't unhear that. We are the pioneers, like it or not. And to Leslie and Vanjie and everybody out there, you know that I salute you because I see you guys out there doing the work necessary. Everybody else needs to join you, join us in doing the not particularly hard work, but it's effort. You got to put yourself out there a little bit for this cause. It's very important. It has national implications. And remember, this battle that we're fighting is far larger than us. So you should be proud to be fighting this battle, as I am. As corny as it may sound, the country actually needs you right now. And I mean the whole country. Democrats or Republicans, we don't care. We're a fiercely nonpartisan group where whatever your political stripes may be, we're glad you're here. And we need you helping us fight. So very last thing I'll say, go to our website and do our daily actions. Also read, let's say the past 5 or 6 articles that we've written. So if you go to studentloanjustice.medium.com, read the past 5, 6, 7 articles that we've written, and you will be pretty much as expert as I am on this topic. Read them carefully, enjoy them, inculcate them, and you will be a very strong student loan justice warrior. It will help. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, have a great weekend. I'll be back on Sunday. Let's not let this weekend go to waste, shall we? We can be doing stuff over the weekend. We do stuff 24/7 almost, or at least 7. Probably not 24. Probably like 16/7 or something is what we're up to these days. Things have gotten so busy, but now is the time. Now is the time to flex our muscle, ladies and gentlemen. Spread the word and help out. So good luck. Have a great weekend. I'll see you on Sunday. Godspeed. And God bless everybody.